This is not grenadine. This is trash. This is grenadine. Grenadine is not a cherry flavored syrup. It is actually made from pomegranate juice. But in this video, I'm gonna show you how to make the best tasting grenadine that you've ever had in your life, as well as 3 absolutely incredibly amazing cocktails for you to use your grenadine in. So the first thing that we need to make real grenadine is a stovetop. So I have this little electric camping kind of cooktop that we use here, and we're gonna turn this on low. You're also gonna need a saucepan, some 100% pomegranate juice. I'm using Plum. If you really wanna take this up a notch, you can actually make your own pomegranate juice by juicing a real pomegranate. I didn't really have the time for that today, or even a pomegranate to begin with, so we're going with Plum. So the first thing we're gonna do is actually do 2 cups of pomegranate juice right into our saucepan here while it's heating up. Next, we're gonna grab our sugar and we're going to do 3 full cups of sugar. And then we're gonna grab a bar spoon, or if you have a whisk you can use, just to incorporate that and get it to start, what's it called, melting? No, dissolving into the pomegranate juice as it's heating up. And then we're going to also do 1 teaspoon of pomegranate molasses, which is just like a concentrated pomegranate molasses. Wow, Louis, great explanation. Anyway, you can find this in a lot of specialty grocery stores, or if you have like a big grocery store, like a Wegmans, which is where I found this one, they might carry it as well. Check like the Asian food or exotic food aisle of your grocery store, you might find it there. And in a pinch, if you really wanted to ignore it, you probably could get away with it. It's just gonna give a lot more of that pomegranate flavor to this that we want. And mix that in as well. And you're just gonna wanna reduce this, I would say, for probably, 5 to 10 minutes, if you don't want it to boil. All right, and so once you get most of the sugar dissolved, you don't want it to be super, super thick. You want it to still be a little runny, and then you know that you're at a good point to turn off your heat, and then you want to remove it from heat. And then we just have one more ingredient to add. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of rose water. This is just going to give it a nice little perfumey kind of flavor, and also help preserve it just a little bit and add more flavor to it. And then you're going to want to let this cool before you bottle it. Normally you could just wait, but I don't really have time for that. I have things to do today. So we're going to put it in an ice bath, and it should cool much faster.
A few moments later.
And once it's fully chilled and at a nice room temperature, you can bottle it. And this should last anywhere between 2 weeks to a month in your fridge. There is a trick to make it last longer. I don't do it because I run a restaurant and I use grenadine in some kids' drinks, so I can't do this. You can add a neutral spirit, such as vodka. All right, and we have this nice nifty little bottle from Crew, which unseals from the bottom, which means that this is real easy to pour in here. So we're gonna pour this right in there. Close enough. And screw that bottom there. And then we have our house-made grenadine. All right, let's make some cocktails. All right, so the first cocktail we're gonna make is probably one of the most famous uses of grenadine in a cocktail. And it comes from a cocktail from the 70s. And you know what? Usually that is like the worst combination of words in a sentence when it comes to cocktails, because the 70s are not known for good things. But I think that this cocktail illustrates just how much of a difference real grenadine can make in a cocktail. And we're gonna make the Tequila Sunrise. And the other thing that's going to make a big difference is using a really great additive-free tequila. I'm using the Cascanes No. 7 Blanco here. So we're gonna do 2 ounces of tequila right in our shaker tin. We are gonna do 2 ounces of freshly squeezed orange juice, and normally orange juice is actually really not my favorite thing to put in a cocktail. I find that oranges kind of vary in terms of sweetness, in terms of flavor, and so I really am not the biggest fan of orange juice in a cocktail, but some cocktails do it well, I guess. So 2 ounces of freshly squeezed OJ. And now we're gonna vary from the original recipe for a little bit, because I think that this cocktail just isn't balanced by the way it was originally created. So we're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice. We'll add ice to our shaker, lock it up and shake it up. We're gonna grab our highball glass, fill it up with ice. And then we're going to double strain this because I don't want any of that orange pulp in there. Last but not least, our house-made grenadine, which we're just going to float over the top, and it should go all the way down to the bottom. And then we're going to garnish it with a little slutty cherry orange flag. And there we have the Tequila Sunrise. And honestly, the 70s may not have done well for cocktails in terms of taste, but in terms of looks, it is quite a looker. It's a beautiful cocktail. All right, let's give it a little sip. Once you get that grenadine in there, it mixes with the other flavors, and it actually is quite enjoyable. This is perfect for like summertime, or if you're doing like a brunch and you don't want to just do mimosas. A real well-made Tequila Sunrise with some house-made grenadine is a hit, in my opinion. That's a good, solid cocktail. All right, the next cocktail I'll make for you is the Scofflaw. This is a cocktail that came about during Prohibition, and both the word and the cocktail kind of came about from the same place. The word was created for the cocktail, and it was also a word to describe people who kind of broke the law about drinking. It was supposed to be derogatory, and then it took on a life of its own through the cocktail. And so it is like the original rebellious cocktail, and it is amazingly delicious. So we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of a good spicy rye. I'm using Rittenhouse. We're gonna do 1 ounce of a dry vermouth. We're gonna do 1/2 ounce of lemon juice, and it originally calls for 1/4 ounce, but I like to up it to the 1/2 ounce of our house-made grenadine. I really like that flavor in there. And lastly, 2 dashes of orange bitters. Add ice to our shaker. Grab a chilled Nick and Nora, and we're going to double strain this out. And then we're going to express a lemon peel over the top. Some people like to express an orange peel. I like lemon. And we're actually going to discard it. We're not going to keep it on there. But if you want to make a pretty little tail, go ahead. I'm not going to. The Scofflaw. Oh man, that is a really great Prohibition era cocktail, which, yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really tasty. If you've never made one, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful cocktail. It's a beautifully delicious cocktail. Moving on to our next cocktail, we're going to make a super easy cocktail called the Sugar Plum. It is one of my absolute favorite simple gin cocktails, and I think you're going to love it too. So we're going to do 1 ounce of freshly squeezed grapefruit juice. All right, 1 ounce of freshly squeezed grapefruit juice. We're going to do 2 ounces of a nice botanical forward gin. I'm using St. George's Botanivore. 2 ounces of a gin. And lastly, 1/2 ounce of our house-made grenadine. We're going to add some ice to our shaker. Lock it up and shake it up. Grab a chilled scoop and double strain right in there. Look at that color, man. And there you have a Sugar Plum. Wow. You would think that it wouldn't work because it's very simple, but that's awesome. That's so great. You get the acidity from the grapefruit, you get that great gin flavor, and the grenadine really comes through. It is incredible. Very, very tasty cocktail. But there you have 3 incredible, amazing cocktails using our house-made grenadine so that you don't have to just let it sit. If you can't get enough cocktail recipes though, I have this other video that you can check out right here next.